under the silver sweep of the moon. Lady Elara stood alone on the balcony of her castle, unaware that tonight, destiny would shatter everything she believed about the world, about herself, and about the man she had vowed to destroy. They called him the Black Knight, a shadow on horseback, a sworn enemy of her bloodline. But Elara had always felt something strange when his name was spoken. A pull she couldn't explain, a quiet stirring beneath her ribs, as if her heart knew a truth her mind had not yet caught up to. That night, as a cold wind whispered through the banners, she felt the presence watching her. Not threatening, but familiar. She turned, and for the first time, she saw him standing beneath the moonlight. His armor dark as night, but his eyes glowing with something soft, something unbearably human. He shouldn't have been there. She shouldn't have stepped toward him. But when their eyes locked, the world became painfully still. "Why are you here?" she whispered. His voice was low, steady, dangerous. "To finally tell you," he said, "that the enemy you seek is the man who has loved you in secret for years." Elara's breath tightened as the Black Knight stepped closer, slow enough to give her time to run, fast enough to make her pulse lose its rhythm. She had seen knights all her life, but none like him. His presence felt like a secret, wrapped in warmth, danger, and something heartbreakingly familiar. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the dagger hidden in her gown. But when he lifted his hand, gently brushing a stray lock of her hair behind her ear, the dagger slipped from her thoughts entirely. "That's dangerous," she whispered. "So is wanting you," he replied. She should have retreated. Every lesson, every warning, every vow she had taken told her this man was her sworn enemy. Yet her heart leaned toward him, pulled by a force older than her family's hatred. She took one step, then another, until only a breath of air separated them. "Elara," he murmured, speaking her name like a vow, "I never meant for you to fear me." "Then, why hide?" He exhaled slowly, heavily. "Because if you knew who I truly was," he said, "you would never forgive me. And I would rather die than lose the only woman I have ever loved." Her world faltered beautifully, dangerously. Elara's heart pounded as she searched his face, trying to understand the truth hiding behind his words. The Black Knight had haunted her dreams for months, a figure she was trained to hate, yet somehow could never fear. Now, as he stood before her without lifting a single weapon, she realized why. He was no monster. He was a man wearing a mask carved by war. "Remove your helmet," she whispered. His hands hesitated just for a moment, before he lifted it away. Moonlight kissed his face, revealing sharp features softened by exhaustion, and eyes that held years of longing she did not know were meant for her. Elara gasped, stepping back. She knew him. Not by name, but by soul. "You," she whispered. "You feel familiar." He nodded. "Because long before our kingdoms declared us enemies, we were children who once laughed under the same cherry tree." She froze. Memories flickered, faint, buried, almost forgotten. Two children running beside a river, a boy with warm eyes promising to protect her always. "You broke that promise," she whispered. His throat tightened. "No. I kept it in silence. I've saved your life more times than you'll ever know." Her knees trembled. Elara gripped the stone railing, the world tilting as truth unraveled. "Saved me," she demanded. "From what?" The Black Knight swallowed hard. "From assassins sent after you by your own court." Her chest tightened. She had always known the palace was cold, unforgiving, full of hidden daggers, but she never imagined one would be pointed at her. "Why would they want me dead?" "Because you refuse to be controlled," he sighed softly. "Your father's advisors fear the strength you carry. They wanted a puppet princess, not a woman with your fire." Elara felt tears sting, but she refused to let them fall. "And you protected me." "I followed every shadow near you," he admitted. "Every night, I stood beneath your balcony to make sure you slept safe. I fought men who would have taken your life before morning came." "Why?" she whispered, voice breaking. He stepped closer, voice trembling for the first time. "Because I knew the world would lose something radiant if it ever lost you." Her breath caught. In that moment she understood. The enemy she was taught to kill was the only man who had ever fought to keep her alive, and her heart began to lean dangerously toward him. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of pine and rain as the Black Knight stepped even closer. Elara felt the air thicken between them, heavy with unspoken truths. "If everything you say is true," she whispered, "then tell me your real name." He hesitated, eyes flickering with fear she had never seen in him. "If I tell you," he murmured, "you will no longer see me as the man who loves you, but as the man you were raised to destroy." Her heart hammered. "Say it." He took her hand, bold trembling, and pressed it to his chest. "My name is Kael," he breathed. "Kael Arden, son of the man your father executed." Elara staggered back as the world spun. Kael, the orphaned boy whose father had sparked the war. The boy she once played with, the man she was told to hate. Kael dropped to one knee. Not in supplication, but in surrender. "I swore an oath under this moon," he said softly, "that even if fate made us enemies, I would never raise a blade against you." Her breath faltered. "Tell me to walk away," he whispered, "and I will vanish forever." But Elara couldn't speak, because her heart had already chosen him, and her heart surrendered before she could breathe. Elara's pulse thundered as she stared at Kael kneeling before her. This was the choice her ancestors feared, the one that could tear kingdoms apart. Loving him meant betraying her bloodline. Letting him go meant betraying herself. The moonlight wrapped them in silver as Kael lowered his head. "Elara, your silence is my answer." She shook her head, stepping forward. "No, my silence means I am terrified, because I don't know how to save you and love you at the same time." Kael rose slowly, cupping her face with the gentlest touch she had ever felt. "You don't need to save me," he whispered. "Just don't let them turn us into enemies again." Her breath trembled as his forehead rested against hers. Warm, soft, devastating. Every warning her father ever gave her collapsed inside her chest. "They will come for us," she whispered. "They already are," Kael replied. "But tonight, we choose each other." A horn suddenly echoed through the valley. Sharp, urgent, close. Elara's eyes widened. "They've discovered you." Kael stepped back, drawing his hood over his face. "Then this is where the real war begins." Elara grabbed his hand. "No," she whispered fiercely. "This is where our love begins." The castle walls trembled with urgency as the horn's echo faded. Elara grabbed Kael's wrist, pulling him through the narrow corridor behind the balcony tapestries. "This way," she whispered, breath quickening. She knew every hidden passage, the ones built for queens, not soldiers. But tonight, they held only two hearts running from fate. Their footsteps echoed softly against stone, blending with the distant shouts of guards searching the halls. Kael moved beside her with silent strength, his cloak brushing her arm, sending shivers across her skin. "Elara," he murmured, "you don't have to do this." She stopped and faced him, chest rising and falling. "I'm not doing this for you," she said softly. "I'm doing this because my heart refuses to lose you." His gaze softened, melting the harsh lines of his face. He touched her cheek with a bravery born of love, not war. "If they catch me, they'll execute me." "Then we don't let them catch you," she replied fiercely. Voices grew louder behind them. Elara pulled open a hidden wooden door. "Through here, it leads to the old stables." Kael hesitated only a moment before taking her hand. "Wherever this path leads," he whispered, "I walk it because of you." The world behind them roared. Ahead only uncertainty and hope. The stables were dark, except for thin moonbeams slipping through roof slats. Horses shifted, sensing danger or destiny. Elara closed the door quietly behind them, her heartbeat thundering through the quiet. Kael moved through the shadows with ease, the moonlight catching on his armor as he checked each stall for listening ears. "You know this castle better than I do," he whispered in admiration. "I grew up hiding in corners no princess should know," she replied softly. He turned, his expression warming. "That's what makes you powerful." For a moment, the fear faded, replaced by something tender. Elara reached for a horse's bridle, hands trembling. Kael stepped behind her, guiding her fingers. The warmth of his chest pressed lightly against her back, the closeness stealing her breath. "Elara," he whispered, voice rough with emotion he couldn't contain. She turned in his arms, their faces inches apart. The world outside dissolved. "Kael, if we ride into the night, there's no turning back." He cupped her face gently. "I don't need a kingdom, I just need you." Before she could answer, a sudden clang erupted outside. The guards were at the courtyard gate. Kael grabbed the reins. "Elara, choose now." She did. She took his hand and didn't let go. Hooves thundered against the cobblestone courtyard as Elara and Kael burst from the stables, the stallion beneath them slicing through the night. Torches flared behind them as guards shouted, "Stop them! The Black Knight escapes with the princess." Elara wrapped her arms tightly around Kael's waist, burying her face against his back as cold air cut across her cheeks. Despite the danger, she felt alive in a way she had never known. The wind tore through her hair, the forest looming ahead like a dark ocean waiting to swallow them whole. "Hold on," Kael warned, pulling the reins as they veered into the trees. Branches whipped past, moonlight breaking through in fleeting silver streaks. The deeper they went, the quieter the world became. Only their breaths, their racing hearts, and the steady rhythm of hooves echoing through the night. Elara lifted her head slightly. "Kael, where are we going?" "Somewhere they can't touch you," he replied. "Somewhere we decide our fate." She rested her cheek against his shoulder, feeling the certainty in his body, the promise in his heartbeat. The forests around them felt ancient, as if holding its breath for them. For the first time in her life, Elara wasn't running from something. She was running toward someone. The horse slowed as they reached the crumbling stone chapel hidden deep within the forest. Ivy curled around broken pillars, moonlight spilling through gaps in the roof like silver rain. The place felt forgotten by time yet. Waiting for them, Kael helped Elara down from the horse, his hands lingering at her waist longer than necessary. "I used to hide here as a boy," he murmured. "It was the only place I felt safe." Elara traced her fingers along a cracked stone altar. "And you brought me here. Why?" Kael took a slow breath. "Because if this is the last night I have with you, I wanted to be in the one place that ever held my truth." Her heart softened, aching with emotion. "Kael, this isn't your last night." He stepped closer. "Then let it be our first." The wind whispered through the chapel, carrying with it the scent of wildflowers and old stone. Kael reached for her hand, his thumb brushing her knuckles with a tenderness that threatened to break her. "Elara," he said quietly, "I never believed in fate, until fate made me your enemy." She stepped into him, their foreheads touching. "And fate," she whispered, "doesn't get the final word." The chapel's silence wrapped around them like a vow waiting to be spoken. Kael's breath faltered as he pulled away just enough to look into her eyes. He had memorized long before she ever learned his name. "There's something more you must know," he said, voice trembling with a weight he'd carried for years. Elara's pulse quickened. "Kael, what truth?" He stepped back, running a hand through his hair as if battling a decision that had haunted him. "The night my father died, it wasn't your father who ordered it." Elara froze. "What are you saying?" Kael exhaled shakily. "It was the council. They blamed your father to turn our kingdoms against each other." Her breath caught, shock rippling through her. "But why?" "So they could seize power while our families drowned in hatred." He met her gaze again. "Elara, we were never meant to be enemies. We were meant to be shields protecting the throne from corruption." Emotion crashed through her. Everything she'd been taught, twisted into something unrecognizable. "You knew this," she whispered. Kael nodded. "And I kept silent. Because I feared losing you before I had the chance to love you." Her heart broke open, and fate's lie finally shattered. Elara stepped toward Kael slowly, each heartbeat echoing louder than the last. Everything she believed, every lie, every wound, every warning, had shattered in a single truth. They were never meant to fight. They were meant to find each other. Kael lowered his gaze, ashamed. "Elara, you deserved honesty long before tonight." She lifted his chin gently, her touch soft yet powerful. "And you deserved someone strong enough to hear the truth without running." His breath hitched. For the first time, the Black Knight looked vulnerable. A man stripped of armor, pride, and fear. "Elara," he whispered, "if loving you destroys me." She silenced him with a touch to his lips. "Then we fall together." Her words ignited something fierce in him. He reached for her waist, pulling her into him as if the world outside the chapel no longer existed. Their lips met slow at first, then with the full force of every stolen glance, every buried feeling, every night he watched over her in silence. The kiss wasn't just desire, it was revelation, a vow their bloodlines could never break. When they finally parted, breathless, she whispered, If this is the truth the world fears, then let them fear us. Darkness surrounded them, but their love lit the room. Their moment of peace shattered when a distant horn blew long, sharp, unmistakably close. Kael stiffened, turning toward the forest shadows. "They've brought trackers," he muttered. "They know you helped me escape." Elara's heart dropped. "They mean to take me back." "No," Kael said grimly. "They mean to silence you. You know too much now." Fear fluttered inside her chest, but not for herself. "Kael, they'll kill you the moment they see your face." He stepped in front of her, drawing his blade. "They'll have to get through me first." She grabbed his arm. "No. We do this together." He met her gaze. The fire in his eyes mirrored in hers. The hunter and the hunted fused into one. Through the broken chapel doorway, shadows flickered, torches approaching. Voices carried through the trees. "Elara," Kael said quietly, "there's a passage beneath the altar. It leads to the river caves. We can escape if we move now." She hesitated only a second. "Then let's move." Kael lifted the stone slab, revealing a dark tunnel carved centuries ago. As they slipped inside, he paused one last time to look at her. "Whatever happens next," he whispered, "I face it because of you, and for you." And then darkness swallowed them whole. The tunnel was cold, damp, and ancient, its walls carved with symbols from a forgotten era. Their footsteps echoed softly as Elara held Kael's hand, using his warmth to steady her fear. "These markings," she whispered, tracing a spiral etched into stone. "They're older than our kingdoms." Kael nodded. "My father once told me this chapel stood on sacred ground, a place where truth couldn't be buried, even by kings." Elara paused. "Yet lies were buried everywhere else." He stopped, turning to face her in the dim glow of his torch. "Not anymore. Not between us." The way he looked at her, like she was the last piece of light he would ever trust, sent a tremor through her chest. "Kael," she whispered, "what if fate brought us here to end this war?" He brushed his thumb across her cheek. "Or to survive it." Ahead, the tunnel widened, opening into a cavern where an underground river shimmered with moon-reflected light flowing in from cracks above. Elara gasped softly. "It's beautiful." Kael smiled gently. "I promised myself, if I ever found a reason to hope again, I would bring that reason here." Her heart skipped. "You brought me." "Yes," he said, "because you are my reason." The underground river glowed with pale silver light, turning the cavern into something sacred. Elara stepped toward the water, mesmerized by its calm surface. Kael watched her with a tenderness he no longer tried to hide. "What is this place?" she asked. Kael approached slowly. "A refuge. My father brought me here after our families became enemies," he told me. "One day, I would stand here with someone I could trust with my life." Her breath caught. "And you think that person is me?" "I don't think," he said softly. "I know." She felt the truth in his voice, warm as the torchlight flickering across stone. Without looking away, she knelt at the river's edge, letting her fingers touch the cool water. Kael knelt beside her. "Elara," he murmured, taking her hand, "I swear this to you. No crown, no kingdom, no blood feud will ever make me choose anything over you." She interlaced her fingers with his, sealing the vow. "And I swear, wherever you stand, even in darkness, I stand with you." Their hands hovered above the water, the reflection of their joined fingers shimmering like a promise written in moonlight. For the first time, their love wasn't a secret. It was an oath. As their fingers broke the water's surface, a sudden splash echoed through the cavern. Kael instantly pulled Elara behind him, sword drawn. Torchlight flickered across the far end of the tunnel. Then voices steady and menacing. "They found us," Kael whispered. Elara's heart pounded. "How?" "The passage was hidden." Kael's jaw tightened. "Someone in the castle betrayed you." Shadows moved along the cavern wall as armored figures emerged, stepping into the moonlit chamber. The leader's voice boomed. "Princess Elara, by order of the council, you are to return at once. The traitor Kael Arden will be executed on sight." Elara stepped forward before Kael could stop her. "He is not the traitor. You are." Gasps rippled through the soldiers. Kael grabbed her hand. "Elara, don't put yourself between us." She squeezed his fingers. I'm not between us, I'm beside you. The commander raised his blade. Seize them. Kael positioned himself in front of her, muscles coiled, every breath prepared for battle. But Elara reached into the folds of her gown, pulling out a seal, her mother's crest, symbol of royal protection rarely seen. You touch him, she said fiercely, voice ringing through the cavern, and you declare war on your future queen. The soldiers froze, and the entire night shifted. Silence crashed through the cavern like thunder. The soldiers stared at the crest, in Ilara's trembling hand, the symbol only a rightful heir could wield. The commander's eyes widened, uncertainty cracking his confidence. The crest was lost, he muttered. Impossible. Elara stepped forward, voice steady as steel. It wasn't lost. My mother hid it from men like you. She lifted the seal higher, moonlight striking its golden surface. By the ancient laws, any who threaten the bearer of this crest commit treason, punishable by death. The soldiers shifted uneasily. Kael watched her, awe softening every line of his face. Elara, he whispered, you don't need to risk this for me. But she did. She needed to, because loving him had awakened something fierce and royal within her. I'm done letting others choose my fate, she said. Or yours. The commander clenched his jaw. Even if the crest is real, the council will reject your claim. Elara squared her shoulders. Then they will answer to a kingdom that will rise behind me. Her voice carried through the cavern like a prophecy. For the first time, Kael realized he wasn't protecting a princess. He was standing beside a queen destined to rewrite history. The soldiers hesitated, but hesitation didn't stop blades. The commander barked, "Seize them." And chaos exploded. Torches fell, sparks flew, steel clashed against stone. Kael pulled Elara behind him just as two soldiers charged. His sword moved with sharp, controlled fury every motion. A promise that he would rather die than let harm reach her. Elara's pulse hammered as she pressed against the wall, helplessly watching Kael fight with the strength of a man fueled by love, not rage. "Kael!" she cried as another soldier closed in from the side. He blocked the strike, but the impact pushed him back toward the water's edge. "Elara, run!" he shouted. "I won't leave you," she screamed. A soldier raised his blade toward her, and before Kael could reach her, Elara thrust her mother's crest forward. Light from the broken roof struck it, reflecting directly into the soldier's eyes. He recoiled, stumbling backward. Kael seized the moment, disarming him with a swift kick, but more soldiers poured in. They were losing ground. "Elara," Kael said breathlessly, "if we fall here..." She grabbed his hand fiercely. "Then we fall together." Kael looked at her, emotion shattering across his face. "No," he whispered. "We rise together." Suddenly, a horn echoed outside the cavern, different from the council's signal. This one was deeper, royal, commanding. The soldiers froze. The commander's eyes widened. "That can't be." A figure appeared at the cavern entrance, armored, regal, surrounded by loyal knights. Elara gasped. Her father, the king, stepped forward, torchlight illuminating his weathered face. Hurt, fear, relief, all tangled together. "Elara," he breathed. "I prayed those rumors were lies." She stepped forward, trembling. "Father," but the king lifted a hand, gaze shifting to Kael. "You, the Black Knight." Kael stood tall, ready for death. But the king didn't draw his sword. Instead, he said, "I know the truth now. The council betrayed us all." His voice cracked. "I followed their lies for too long." The commander stuttered. "Your Majesty, he is the enemy, the only enemy." The king thundered, "Is the one who manipulates a kingdom from the shadows." Soldiers dropped their weapons instantly. Elara rushed to her father. "You came for me." "I came," he whispered, touching her cheek, "because a father knows when his daughter's heart has already chosen." He turned to Kael. "If she chooses you, then I will not stand in her way." Kael bowed his head, not in fear, but in gratitude. Torchlight danced across the cavern as the king stepped closer to Kael. "Son of Arden," he said quietly, "your father and I were both victims of the council's poison. I cannot undo the past, but I can choose not to repeat it." Kael met his gaze steadily. "I ask for no forgiveness," he said, "only the chance to build a future beside your daughter." The king studied him, then glanced at Elara. The way she stood beside Kael, not behind him, the fire in her eyes, the love she no longer tried to hide. "Then kneel," the king said. Kael dropped to one knee, expecting a blade. Instead, the king placed his hand on Kael's shoulder. "I grant you clemency, and my blessing." Elara let out a breath that broke into a trembling smile. Kael rose slowly, turning to her. "Elara," he murmured, voice thick with emotion, "I've sworn 1,000 silent vows in my heart. But let this be the first you hear." He took her hands. "I choose you. In peace, in war, in darkness, in dawn, I choose you." Her eyes glistened. "And I choose you," she whispered, stepping into him. Not as a princess, but as the woman who finally knows her fate. Their foreheads touched an oath, sealed not by ink, but by love. The cavern doors opened to the quietest dawn they had ever seen. The forest glowed with soft morning light, and for the first time, Elara felt the world greet her not as a princess trapped by duty, but as a woman who had chosen her own destiny. Kael stood beside her, his fingers intertwined with hers. The king approached them. "Return with me," he sighed softly. "The council will fall. A new kingdom will rise, one built on truth, not fear." Elara looked at Kael. "Will you walk back with me?" Kael lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles. "Anywhere you walk," he murmured, "becomes home." She leaned into him, heart warm, steady, free. "Then we walk as one." Together, they stepped out of the cavern, a king, a warrior, and a woman whose courage had rewritten the ending of a war. Whispers of their story spread across kingdoms. The princess who defied fate, the knight who loved her more than life, and the moonlit oath that turned enemies into soul-bound lovers. Some said it was destiny, others said it was rebellion, but those who knew them best said only this: love didn't change their world, it created a new one.